And proximity is power. Proximity is power. What do I mean by this? There's a long line of research now that says that you are the average of your 5 closest friends. You've probably heard this before. The company that you keep determine who you are. You are the average of your 5 closest friends. Who do you hang out with? Who do you hang out with? Do they influence you in a positive or a negative way? When you leave that conversation, do you feel drained? Do you feel, as if they've just sucked all the energy out of you? Who do you hang around with? Or when you leave a conversation, do you feel inspired? Do you feel as if you can take on the world? Do you feel as if you can take on any challenge at all that comes along? Proximity is power. The company that you keep determine who you are. When I was in hospital, there was another guy that was in hospital, and he had a motorbike accident. And he wasn't taking his accident too well. He'd lost his leg in it, and he wasn't taking, he'd even tried to commit suicide a number of times. So they actually asked me to come down and connect with this guy because they've tried counsellors, they've tried nurses, doctors, nothing at all worked. So they asked me in a different ward to come out and connect with this guy. Get this, at one stage I was known as the in-house counsellor for this hospital. So I shuffled off my bed, and they gave me this little electronic scooter. All this metal was all still inside my leg, so I scooted down to this particular ward, and his name was Mal. And Mal was given one of those type of wheelchairs, And I remember so clearly we met in the middle of the hospital hallway, and we were doing time trials up and down non-stop. But get this, all he wanted was someone to connect with. To someone to say, hey, mate, let's go through this together. Another principle that I talk about a lot in my book is this holding hands in traffic. And what do I mean by that? When we're young kids, let me take you back to when we're young kids. We're actually told before we go through this intersection, we say, hey, come on, kids, let's all hold hands and move through this together. Guys, that's exactly the same in our own worlds, in our own lives. We must stick together. I believe, I just recently wrote a blog, and it was called Vulnerability Leads to Growth. If you want to grow, you need to be a little bit more vulnerable, because when we're vulnerable, that actually leads to respect, but it also leads to growth as well, because we're dealing with the issues in our life right now. Get this, when I was in high school, I was hanging around with the wrong type of people, and they influenced me in quite a negative way. I found myself smoking cigarettes. I found myself smoking weed. I found myself dealing weed, and then I found myself being kicked out of school. The company that I was hanging around with influenced me in a negative way. Now, look, I could put all the blame on these guys and say, look, it's all your fault. But the reality is I made those decisions myself, but I was hanging around with the wrong type of people. Proximity is power. So I had to strategically disconnect myself from these people in order for me to grow. You should see some of the people that I now hang out with. I hang out with this one guy, right? His name is Brad. He's won the Entrepreneur of the Year in the whole of Australia 3 years in a row. First time in Australia's history someone's won it more than once, and he's won it 3 years in a row. He's also won the best retail business in the whole of Australia 2 years in a row. He won the Young Australian of the Year as well. He just recently came over from Vegas, signed Marcus Ambrose, the NASCAR driver, signed him up on a $26 million contract. Now get this guy Brad Smith, he grew up in housing commission homes, and he's 25 years old. I'm on the phone to him nearly every single day. Proximity is power. The company that you keep determine who you are. I've got another friend of mine. He's in the International Youth Advisory Board together with Prince William, Sultan of Brunei's son, Bill Clinton's daughter, the most influential youth advisory board in the world. He was also voted in the top 20 most influential Australians. And he's 27 years old. I'm on the phone to him nearly every single day. I've got another friend of mine who I connect with regularly. He's a famous DJ. He DJs and he flies around in private jets all over the world. Just last week, I think he won 3 Grammys. His name is Skrillex. Who do you hang out with? Do they influence you in a positive or a negative way? You are the average of your 5 closest friends. Start strategically hanging around with the right type of people. Whether or not it's your diamond sponsor, whether or not it's your double diamond, whatever that person is, start getting mentored. Proximity is power. And that is a great conversation as well that you can have when you're trying to grow your business, because people want what's on your life. People want that happiness, that excitement, that joy, that inner strength that you have. Proximity is power.